from that sweet bygone age. Our friendships like fire, our spirits uncaged. In the heart of the city, where the cobblestones gleam, we race down the alleys, fueled by a dream. With caps on our heads and marbles in hand, we were kings of the playground, a wild, fearless band. When dusk painted skies with a warm golden hue,
we gather around as the stars peeked on through.
With tales of adventure and plans for the next, in our hearts, a bond that could never be vexed.
Extra, extra! In the fall of 1833,
Barney Flaherty responded to an ad in the New York Sun for a young boy to deliver newspapers.
Little did he know that at 10 years old, he would be the first in an iconic
and influential, a powerful group of young boys and men, the Newsies. Dun 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 do 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 da 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 dun 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 dun.
Often poor, homeless, or abandoned, the newsboys,
Newsies for short,
found a way to survive by selling newspapers on the street. A band of young brothers, they fabricated family when the world pushed them aside.
Through the brutal weather and bustle of New York streets, these young boys and girls were often each other's only form of support,
bringing to life the motto, one for all, and all for one.
I was just a kid, but selling papers was the only way to make some money. We'd buy the papers for a few cents and shout the headlines to catch people's attention. In 1866, a reformer named Charles Grace described the condition of homeless newsboys in New York City.
I remember one cold night seeing some 10 or a dozen of the little homeless creatures piled together to keep each other warm beneath the stairway of the New York Sun office.
There used to be a mass of them at the Atlas office, sleeping in the lobbies, until the printers drove them away by pouring piercing cold water on them.
Every street corner had us. Kids. Dirty, hungry, but loud. We weren't just selling papers. We were surviving.
When they raised the price of the papers, we couldn't afford it anymore.
We had to fight back.
I didn't care about Pulitzer or Hearst. I just wanted to
Make sure we weren't starving.
Joseph Pulitzer, the infamous newspaper baron, rose to power on the backs of exploited laborers,
including the vulnerable children known as Newsies. As the owner of the world, Pulitzer's insatiable greed led him to prioritize profits over people,
Imposing unfair price hikes on the struggling boys who sold his papers.
blind to their hardship. He treated the Newsies not as individuals, but as
expendable tools for his empire.
His towering influence in the media world was built on manipulation
And exploitation, using sensationalism to sell stories, while ignoring the welfare of those who carried his empire on their small, weary shoulders.
Pulitzer's legacy, for all its journalistic innovation, is stained by the relentless abuse of power over the most powerless.
Pulitzer and Hearst, they think we're nothing. Are we nothing?
No!
Pulitzer and Hearst, they think they got us. Do they got us? No! Even though we ain't got hats or badges, we're a union just by saying so. And the world will know.
Tired of the abuse,
The squalor,
The starvation.
the wreckage their lives had become.
The Newsies laid down their papers and raised their fists, showing Pulitzer and Hearst that they would
Not yield in their affliction for fair wages and fair treatment. The summer of 1899 was a hot one in New York City. The streets were alive with the shouts of newsboys,
Scrappy kids,
most of them barely teenagers, weaving through carriages and crowds, selling the latest headlines.
For them, every penny earned was a lifeline. But one morning, a quiet announcement changed everything. The cost of the papers they bought to sell was going up. The publishers, powerful men like Joseph Pulitzer and William Randolph Hearst, thought it was just business.
2 cents more for 100 papers wouldn't hurt them.
But for the newsies, it meant hunger. It meant failure.
They're charging us 2 cents more. That's 2 cents we don't got.
Yeah! Jack Kelly, a boy with fire in his eyes and the weight of the world on his shoulders, refused to let it slide. He knew the boys relied on every cent to survive.
We're done taking what they give us. It's time to fight back. Who's with me?
We dare! And so, the strike began. At dawn the next morning, the newsies gathered outside the distribution centers, blocking the doors with their bodies. They shouted their demands loud enough to shake the city.
No pape today. No one crosses this line.
But the publishers weren't gonna let a bunch of kids stop their empire. They hired thugs, men with fists like iron, to break the picket lines.
The first blow landed on Jack. A club caught him in the ribs, sending him crashing to the ground.
But for every boy who fell, another stepped forward.
You think you could scare us? We're not backing down.
The newsies held their ground, but the days wore on, and the fight grew harder.
Hunger gnawed at their resolve, and bruises painted their skin.
The papers mocked them as troublemakers.
Yet,
The city began to notice.
Passers-by stopped to listen to their chants.
slipping bread and coins into their hands.
The turning point came when the newsies decided to take their fight to the Brooklyn Bridge.
Thousands of them.
Dirty, tired,
But unbroken, marched through the streets, their voices rising like a tide. Strike! 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 The spectacle was impossible to ignore. Pulitzer and Hearst, the titans of the press, were forced to meet with the boys who had brought their operations to a halt.
The publishers refused to lower the price of the papers, but the newsies won something greater.
A promise. From that day forward, they could return unsold papers for a refund.
It ain't perfect, but it's a start. They thought it was nothing, but we proved them wrong.
We did it!
The cheers that followed echoed across the city.
The newsies have fought together and won together. The strike ended that day, but its legacy endured. The smallest voices have roared loud enough to shake New York City, and the world listened.
The true historical leader of the Newsies
Was Louis the Wedding, known for his charisma,
Red hair,
And bum eye.
He went by many names,
Blind Diamond.
Red Blink,
Maxime McGee.
but most famously,
Kid Blink.
at 18 years of age, he was the facilitator and spokesman for the second largest child-led strike the world has ever known.
His bravery and willpower were and will always be remembered.
his legacy will live on.
His story will not be forgotten.
The iconic 1992 Newsies film does not identify Kid Blink as the leader of the Newsies, but history remembers. We remember, and give him the credit and recognition he deserves. So here's to the boys from that sweet bygone age, with friendship like fire and spirits uncaged.
In the echoes of laughter, forever they'll roam.
In the heart of each brother, they'll always find home.
open the gates and seize the day.
Don't be afraid and don't delay. Nothing can break us. No one can make us give our rights